Welcome to the last word for your Tuesday. I hope you had a great day. It is Bakes on Things. Now, let me start today with something very simple, very human, and supposedly universal in every democracy that claims to stand for freedom, justice, and, well, basic decency. When an ally loses one of its own in a terror attack, you say something usually. You express condolences. You acknowledge the pain. You show respect for that country and for those they lost. You show that you understand the gravity of what's happened. But apparently, not in Mark Carney's Canada. Let's go.
Welcome to Bakes on Things.
Welcome back to Bakes on Things, the last word for your Tuesday. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the conversation down below as America mourns the murder of 20-year-old U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, a young woman who signed up to serve her country, who put on that uniform knowing the risks, who was ambushed on American soil while protecting the nation's capital. Canada's government has said nothing, not a word. Dead silence. Not a whisper, not a single syllable. Not the Prime Minister, not the Governor General, not the Ambassador to Washington. No one. Not even a boilerplate tweet. Nothing drafted by staff, pushed out as a bare minimum courtesy to our friends to the south. How could we let this happen? Nothing. Literally nothing. And let me tell you something. Silence is not neutral. Silence is not harmless. Silence is a message being sent by our government. And in the case of this one, the message is brutal because it says, America, Canada doesn't care about you anymore. But that's totally untrue unless you're the Liberal government. And that, my friends, is an embarrassment that every Canadian who still believes in honor and friendship should be absolutely furious about. Because I don't care what you think about Donald Trump. I don't care what you think about tariffs or trade wars or the 51st state rhetoric. None of that matters when a soldier is taken down in the line of duty. Politics gets put aside in those scenarios. Humanity begins if we are a democracy. That's how it's always been. That's how it always should be, at least until now. A relationship that used to actually mean something to this country. That's what it was. A relationship with our friends and neighbors to the south. We allowed planes to land in Halifax after 9/11. Let's jog a few memories, because clearly the people running Canada today have horrific amnesia. When Canada lost Warrant Officer Patrice Vincent in 2014, when he was run down by a terrorist near Montreal, America spoke up. They stood by us. They stood with us. They stood with Montreal. When Corporal Nathan Cirillo was viciously attacked and ended his life, unfortunately, while guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier on Parliament Hill, America spoke up. Again, they didn't hesitate. They didn't weigh political implications. They didn't run a poll first. They just did the right thing and expressed their condolences. President Barack Obama at the time didn't tweet some half-hearted line. He called Stephen Harper on the phone and spoke with him personally. He said America was shaken by the attack, that they stood with Canadians and that they mourned with us. That's what friends do. Fast forward to 2020, after the horrific Nova Scotia mass shooting left 22 Canadians without their lives, including RCMP officer Heidi Stevenson. And it was again an American president, this time the one you all love to hate, Donald Trump, at the time, who sent condolences, who reminded us of the special and enduring bond between our two nations, even if there are things we don't like about the trade relationship or other things going on at the border. And don't forget when Justin Trudeau went to the U.S. Embassy after the Pulse nightclub terror attack. And he signed the condolence book and stood with the LGBTQ community in Orlando. Whether you liked the man or not, he showed up. He understood the moment, and he was there. This used to be normal for us. This used to be normal between two friends. This used to be normal between Canada and the United States. Expected, automatic. But now, nothing? That doesn't make sense to me. Carney's pettiness is showing through. Carney's pettiness is now Canada's brand. You want to talk about pettiness and diplomatic breakdown? Here it is in plain sight. How dare we not acknowledge this? The relationship isn't strained, it's fractured, it's bleeding, and Mark Carney is the one holding the knife. The person holding that knife is our Prime Minister. How can this be? This is the same Prime Minister who asked, "Who cares?" when questioned about Trump and trade negotiations. The same guy who gets visibly annoyed anytime Trump's name is mentioned anywhere near him. The same guy who treats the U.S. president like he's some sort of inconvenience when he's not talking to him and then licks his boots when he's in front of him, rather than the leader of the country that buys most of our exports, employs millions of Canadians indirectly, and keeps North America secure. And now, the silence after a terror attack? This isn't an accident. This isn't an oversight. This is Mark Carney's ego at play. Plain and simple. It's his narcissism. A petty refusal to do the bare minimum because Carney can't stand that Trump has the upper hand in the trade war, or that his negotiation tactics, if he ever even owned any, didn't work. That Americans overwhelmingly support their president, or that the White House keeps calling out Canada's runaway immigration crisis and economic decline. So instead, what does Carney do? Carney hides behind the silence. And let me tell you something. When a world leader chooses silence, it's intentional. There are no accidental silences. There are no accidental 48-hour gaps when a soldier has been taken down. Statements like this are drafted in minutes after the incident happens. He did it with Charlie Kirk. They're approved in hours, released automatically unless someone says no. And someone in Ottawa said no, our Prime Minister. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about the chances that we'll get a trade deal with the United States anytime soon? What Americans will think, whether Ottawa likes it or not, is going to be bad. It's going to be real bad, because here's the part that Canadians need to grasp here out of all of this situation. Americans notice all of this stuff, and they should, especially when it involves their own troops. They are very patriotic that way, especially when it involves an attack on U.S. soil against the National Guard in Washington, D.C. And it happened right before Thanksgiving, nonetheless. One of the most emotionally charged moments in the American calendar, at a time where patriotism, family, and service are absolutely front and center. And we said nothing. Canada said nothing. Do you know what that looks like? Do you know how that looks to not only the U.S., but the rest of the world? Do you know how that feels to an American watching from West Virginia, from Colorado, from Florida, from anywhere? It looks cold. It looks ungrateful. It looks like betrayal from the closest ally they've ever had. But really, it's just Mark Carney and his ineptitude. And here's the irony. Canadians, ordinary Canadians, first responders, veterans, police, firefighters, journalists, families, everyone's mourning this. We feel this. There were lots of tweets and X's, whatever you want to call them. We understand the sacrifice that was made here. We're disgusted by what happened. But none of that matters when the government that speaks on our behalf refuses to open its mouth, in particular our Prime Minister. Mark Carney didn't just insult Donald Trump. He didn't just snub Washington. He made every Canadian look indifferent to a horrific attack on American soil. And we absolutely are not indifferent to that. I have seen many, many social media posts expressing condolences. But the citizens don't matter when the Prime Minister doesn't speak up. This is not what we are. Under this government, sadly, it is how we are represented, though. And that's a terrible thing. The fall of an alliance that once defined North America is what we're witnessing here. Think about how many times Canada and the U.S. stood shoulder to shoulder. It happened on D-Day. It happened in Afghanistan. It happens in NORAD all the time, in global peacekeeping missions. It happens all the time in trade, security, and economic cooperation, despite what's going on today. We have fought. We have built, we have traded, we have innovated, and we have defended each other for generations. We are intertwined in a way no other two countries on earth are intertwined. And yet here we are today at a turning point, a very odd turning point, if you ask me, where Canada's government can't even send a single condolence message after an attack on American soil. Are you kidding me? This isn't foreign policy. It's not foreign policy anymore. This is self inflicted humiliation by a prime minister who only cares about himself. The trade war isn't an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's never an excuse. This is a moral failure on the part of our government. And let's be very clear, trade is politics. Attacks on other people's soil are humanity. That's the difference, Mark. This has nothing to do with tariffs or negotiations. This has nothing to do with Trump's rhetoric or Canada's fragile ego right now. This has nothing to do with whether Carney likes the president or not. This has nothing to do with horrific ads put on American airwaves by a buffoon of a premier. This is about a 20-year-old U.S. Army specialist, Sarah Beckstrom, who will never go home again. This is about Staff Sgt. Andrew Wolfe fighting for his life because he did his job. This is about a 29-year-old Afghan national welcomed into America after the fall of Kabul, returning that generosity with an act of barbaric violence. That's what this is about. But Canada, silent, just because we're mad. As if the taking down of a soldier is no more significant than a trade statistic on a spreadsheet. As if offering condolences is optional here. As if we don't share a border, an economy, and a continent with the people grieving right now. Silence is not neutrality, folks. The media can't tell you that it is. Silence is disrespect. Silence is weakness. Silence is cruelty masquerading as diplomacy. And right now, silence is the only foreign policy that Mark Carney seems to give a damn about. The one that he seems to have mastered the most. How could we not say something as best friends to the country that borders our south? It's not too late for Canada unless we stay quiet. And I kind of get a feeling Mark's going to stay quiet here. So let me send the message our leaders can't seem to muster up, shall we? To Specialist Beckstrom's entire family, Canadians do grieve with you. To Staff Sgt. Wolfe's family, Canadians pray for his recovery. To Americans watching this show right now, and there are some, Canadians see your sacrifice. We honor it. We respect it. We share your outrage. And we are sorry that the people who run our country right now do not reflect our values, our gratitude for everything you've always done for us, our decency. This is not the Canada you used to know, but I promise you our citizens are very close to the Canada you used to know. This is not the Canada you fought beside. This is not the Canada that sent its sons and daughters to die in Vimy, at Juno, and in Kandahar. This is not who you once knew. This is Mark Carney's Canada. Small, angry, petty, cold, and silent when it matters the most. And we're sorry. But it doesn't have to stay this way. We don't have to keep going this route. Canadians can speak even when our government refuses to. And we should. You should be doing it in the comments of this video. Canadians can stand up even when Ottawa shrinks. Canadians can remind America that our friendship is not dead, just badly, badly misrepresented right now. And that's not really any particular citizen's fault other than our own prime minister. And if our government won't fix this embarrassment, then we will, because we should. It's how you stand up for a country. Because real Canadians don't stay silent in the face of any kind of tragedy, tariffs, Donald Trump, or anything else. Real Canadians don't withhold compassion out of political spite. Real Canadians don't hide when our friends suffer. Mark Carney can be silent himself if he wants to. It's a ridiculous way of doing things. His cabinet can be silent. His diplomats can be silent. But the people of Canada, we really shouldn't be. We haven't been before, and we shouldn't start now. Thanks for watching Bakes on Things, The Last Word. I hope you like, subscribe, and of course comment down below, especially to express your condolences to our American friends. Have a conversation about this, and we'll see you tomorrow morning on the first sip for your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening.